a song example and kind of work in a couple of variations, and we're going to kind of be focusing on variations to the groove. And some of them will register higher than others on the tastometer, so to speak, and we'll kind of look and see if we can nail down why that might be the case. All right? The progression we'll be looking at is essentially going to be the same one that we looked at for the idioms earlier. But now there's a vocal, so we'll have to kind of listen in to make sure that the way we're phrasing things and where we're putting those licks is sensitive to where the vocals are. All right? The feel is kind of an R&B ballad kind of thing. And we'll start out just by pretty much playing the bass line right along with it and not doing any variations and just getting an overall idea of how it feels. I want to thank my friend Paul Clark, who contributed vocals and acoustic guitar to this.
As I turn my face to you, Lord, oh, with the gratefulness to live, all of my love, precious Savior, I now give. As I lift my hand.
All right, so that bass line I was just playing was a very simple yet supportive thing, consistent with what the kick drum pattern was doing, and it'd probably be a good thing to do through, the first couple of choruses. So everything we're going to be throwing in now is more like the song's gone through a couple choruses and now it's well established and it's time to start throwing in more variations, okay? What are some things we can do?
As I turn my face to you, Lord, oh, with the gratefulness to live, all of my love, precious Savior, I now give. As I lift my hand.
Okay, I was throwing in certain variations between the vocal phrases, all right? Let's check out the very first one.
As I turn my face to you, Lord, oh, with the gratefulness to live, all of my love, precious.
Now, with that all of my love, I went, so I was using ghost notes to kind of do a little bit of a stutter almost and emphasize the 16th note type of pulse that's occurring there, okay?
I now give.
Paul's vocal line there did kind of a give, right? I'm not a singer again, but so I sort of responded to that with a, okay? Let's hear how that fits in.
I now give. As I lift my hands to heaven, oh, as a sacrifice of praise, abiding in you, precious Savior, all of my days.
So what did I do in that second section? Well, I'm sort of expanding on doing embellishments between his vocal phrases.
Oh, as a sacrifice of praise, abiding in you, precious Savior.
When he sings Abiding in You, Precious Savior, I was sort of echoing his line right after it. He sang, here we go.
Abiding in you, precious Savior.
Hear that? The cadence of his vocal was abiding in you. And so I responded with, hear that? So that echo again, is something that you can use as an effective way to weave lines in and out. Okay, you want to make sure that the notes you're picking are consistent and complementary to what the vocal is doing, obviously.
all of my
So that was kind of a use of going to a different register, right? My whole bass line had been down in this range, and then it was abiding in you. And again, I was responding to his vocal phrase. Let's look at some things that maybe don't work so well, okay? Most of these will usually just be because they're out of context. They're not necessarily bad bass lines, although there certainly are those too. But most of the time it's just out of place, okay? It's either walking on the vocal, or it's just rhythmically out of context with what's happening, or it's maybe just a showboaty, oh, I feel like taking a lick here, okay? Let's kind of mess with those things. I'm going to walk on the vocal.
as I turn my face to you, Lord. Oh, with the gratefulness to live. All of my love, precious Savior, I now give. As I lift my hands to
See, those are things that are more appropriate in like a hard rock setting where you've got the drums hitting those hits and all that other stuff. It's inappropriate in the worship setting because what it's doing is making people, get yanked out of the throne room because it's like, what's going on up there, It's obviously not a transparent statement. So you want to weave things in and just, again, musically convey what's happening lyrically and spiritually. All right?
oh, as a sacrifice of praise. Abiding in you, precious Savior, all of my days.
And then answer it. Hear how, with proper and sensitive phrasing, you can make it just weave in and be a smooth thing, okay? Mess with those different ideas and try to be as tasteful as possible and make your musical contributions just really be a supportive foundational thing to where people welcome and are blessed by those little embellishments that you do, as opposed to people thinking that it's some big showboaty thing. And that all has to do with sensitivity and playing with taste. Fretless bass guitar. It's a really cool thing to be able to reach for because it has such a different sound. There's a strikingly different sound from a fretted instrument. It's kind of got that moi thing going. I call it the moi factor, actually. But you may have noticed, by the way, I'm playing actually it's a lined fretless bass. So if you look kind of from far off, you may not tell that it's fretless, but these are just lines to kind of help me have a general idea of where pitch is, But if you're not familiar with fretless bass, one of the things that's important is intonation. With a fretless instrument, this is in tune, that's flat, and that's sharp. So it's really important to have good monitoring systems so that you can tell where your instrument is pitch-wise in relation to the other instruments. So you may have noticed also that I have an amplifier right up here in my face. And it's on a stand and it's aimed towards me. And I actually, for that matter, have the mid-range where I'm usually kind of one to scoop out the mid-range a little bit in terms of the EQ, do a little bit of the V. With a fretless bass, you don't want to do that because that's where all of your pitch clarity is. That's your pitch definition. So I'll usually run it pretty flat, or I may even bump up the mid-range just a little bit just to really make it clear where pitch is. Then I also have a floor monitor that has a good strong signal from an instrument that I can use to tell my pitch relative to. So, you don't want to have that with another, fretless instrument like a violin or something. You pretty much want to have it with like a guitar without a whole lot of effect, or a piano or something that you can use as a good reference to make sure you're playing in tune, okay? But the wonderful thing about fretless bass is that because it has such a different timbre, you can really approach it in a different way, and you can almost play like horn-like melodies and responses to vocal phrases in a way that on a fretted instrument may seem a little bit, too in your face. Let's actually go back real quick to the example of the taste example we used earlier where Paul Clark was singing that song, and see how we can maybe do some fretless type horn-like lines and mess with our variations, okay?
As I turn my face to you, Lord, with the gratefulness to live, all of my love, precious Savior, I now give. As I lift my hands to heaven, oh, as a sacrifice of praise, abiding in you, precious Savior, all of my days.
The fretless bass guitar. It's just a really cool, different color to be able to apply to that canvas. It's also one of the first instruments that I'll reach for in those drummerless situations too, because the whole different approach that you can take isn't so reliant upon hearing the backbeat and things like that. You can take a totally different tack with it. Okay. Incidentally, for those of you who are interested, this is a PV Quad 5 fretless bass. It's an awesome bass designed by Brian Bromberg. It's kind of a hot rod. It's got a graphite neck, piezo pickups in the bridge. Very cool. And I'd actually like to briefly introduce my other instruments as well. They each have a really different sound. The Carvin AC50F fretless bass is one that I used earlier in that jazz example, but it's got flat wound strings, koa body, and it's just a totally different type of sound that is a nice other color to be able to reach for. My primary fretted bass is an MTD 5 made by Michael Tobias, and it's got a Wenge neck, extremely powerful pickups, monster bass, monster slap tone. I'm really liking this instrument, and it's one that a lot of worship bass players actually are starting to use a lot more. Lastly, this is a Modulus Quantum 5 SPI made by Modulus graphite neck, and piezo pickups. Another different sound from the MTDs. Anyway, gear talk for you bass players who are interested. But the fretless bass is a very expressive instrument that you'll really want to be using, so check it out. I sincerely hope that the things we covered today are helpful for you in just developing as a bass player and as a more effective part of a praise band. At this point, let's talk just briefly about some issues of the heart, some ministry considerations, and maybe just expound a little bit upon what we covered at the end of Volume 1. If you spend a moment and just sort of try to absorb and assimilate the scene that John is describing in the second half of Revelation 5, the worship scene he's describing, it kind of leaves you speechless. And it's really good for reestablishing that focus. I know it is for me, reestablishing that proper perspective. The fact that God chooses to use undeserving vessels like us to lead His people in worship is ridiculously humbling, isn't it? I'm constantly amazed by that grace. And consequently, it, in addition to just renewing a real sense of gratitude in my heart, it definitely keeps me, pushing towards just keeping my heart focused and just my overall self reliant upon Him as the total solid foundation in my life. And we also want to keep consistently investing in our relationships with the Lord. If we're spending more time with the Jumbotron and the remote control than we are with our Savior, then we probably need to reprioritize some things anyway. Unless, of course, that's the remote control, bass in hand, and Grooving for Heaven on TV. No. What else? Loving, honoring, encouraging, being there for the rest of your team. The worship ministry is a place of spiritual warfare. The enemy certainly doesn't dig it when God's people are just focused on Him and praising Him. And there's all sorts of attack associated with it. And it's just an awesome thing when you're going into that situation and you're all there for each other and praying for each other. It defies description. And it's one of the coolest experiences in ministry for sure. Anyway, let's proceed steadfastly and diligently investing in the talents that God's given us for our ministries, and diligently invest in the things of heaven, for which we groove. So thanks for joining me for the second volume of Grooving for Heaven, the bassist and contemporary work.